Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very, very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
My name is Corey Harlock. I am the creator of KeyHire Solutions, and I'm calling you from Katy, Texas, which is a suburb of Houston, Texas today.
Okay. How far is it from Mesquite? I graduated out there. I graduated with my master's. So yeah, I don't know how far it is. Do you know how far it is?
I'm a Canadian who lives in Katy, Texas, so my geography of Texas is limited, and I do everything by GPS, so I don't even know where I'm going half the time.
Understood.
Mind you, I say I'm a
Okay.
Canadian who lives in Texas, but I'm actually now an American. I was naturalized about 2 months ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. Can you tell me an extensive history of your past leading up into your present? If I cut you off, I apologize. I
Please
just
do,
want to
yeah.
know.
No, you're an interrupter. That's just like me. That's good. We'll have a fun conversation. So I back up in Canada in Calgary. I was a hospitality guy for years and years and years. That's what I went to school for. It's a young person's game, and I got to the point where I wanted to get out. And I thought, the three skills I had that could get me out of hospitality were recruiting, sales, or marketing. So I just started booking coffee appointments with anyone who would meet with me. And I came across these guys who owned an agency called Questus Recruitment up in Calgary. And in my interview, they said, "Hey, we have a hospitality recruiting program here." And I said, "Well, that's amazing." And they said, "But none of us know anything about hospitality." So they hired me to build out that program, and I worked with them for a number of years. It was fun. We built it out, but that kind of contingency recruiter model never set well with me, especially with restaurateurs, right? Because the margins are so small. I never liked it. And then we ended up moving down to Houston because my wife, she was in oil and gas. So I joined another agency down here. And while I was with that agency, I was with them for about 2 years. I joined a group called Vistage. And through that group, I kind of brainstormed some ideas. The people in that Vistage group really helped me flush out those ideas through
Did
other.
you find them or did they find you in Vistage?
It's a funny story how I got involved with Vistage. I kind of was introduced to this guy, and he kept taking me for lunch, and he kept talking to me about Vistage. And at that time, I didn't even have my work permit. I was still waiting for my permit to come in the mail, So I was kind of like, sure, I'll go for lunch with anyone. And he kept talking to me about Vistage, and I kept coming home and saying to my wife, this guy keeps talking to me about Vistage. I have no idea what he's talking about. So then they invited me to one of their group's meetings to see what it was. And I was like, oh, okay, I see this. And, I was in what's called the Trusted Advisors group. And that's kind of a bunch of service providers sitting around and talking about our best practices and working through our challenges. And they really become your board, right? Your mentors, and we're all there to help each other. And I had this really cool, what I thought was a cool idea to help small businesses with their talent. And through those people, they really took an interest in me and in it for whatever reason, and helped me flush out my model and help me develop what it was. And truthfully, that was jumping. That was in 2018, maybe 2016. So KeyHire's been around for about 9 years, and it's a totally different beast than it was. But they definitely gave me the confidence and some ideas to go out and start executing on it and get it started.
Okay. And once you did get it started, give me an example of the productivity and the outcomes that you produced by creating, being a part of Vistage.
Vistage, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Vistage is kind of the mentor group. So we help each other. But in terms of KeyHire, what we do with KeyHire, is that what you're asking me, Kimberly?
Well, yes. Yes.
Okay. So, now our core clients are business owners, privately held business, first, second, third gen, $5 to $25 million. That's our core. And essentially where our work comes in is when you start a business, you hire, stop me if you've heard this before, you hire your neighbor, you hire your neighbor's friends, you hire your cousins, and everyone pitch in and they try to get this business off the ground. And if they do a good job, the business demands will outgrow the experience and the capacity of the people who started.
Okay.
And that's where KeyHire comes in. That's where we jump in when a business owner is starting to wonder. They're either kind of the gears have grind to a halt and they're having a hard time pushing anything forward because they're just too busy and the leaders they have can't execute and they're having to help. Or it could be they're just really curious about this leader is struggling and I wonder if we continue to grow, are they going to be able to execute and create those policies and procedures that we need to help the company grow? So really what we do is we help small business scale through capacity and talent.
Okay, and can you describe your experience with insourcing talent acquisition process for small businesses, and how have you helped transition from outsourced recruiting into in-house teams?
Right. So we come in as the director of talent. We don't really come in as a team, but at more of an individual. We're kind of we do kind of key and leadership roles, not line staff or entry level roles. And there's staffing solutions for entry level. That's still a really viable thing for a lot of companies. But we come in on the specialized talent or the leadership, and often we're doing one of three things. We're either just backfilling a role, which is not what we do. If you just want to bring in the same person you had before, that's not what we generally do. We upgrade roles. So the current person is lacking the experience or the capacity to help that business grow. So we'll come in and upgrade it. So we'll bring in someone who has the experience and capacity to help them scale. But the most of the work we do is assessing a business and saying, maybe they have an operations manager and they're really struggling with the current levels of production and the quality suffering and deliveries are running later. And it's just that business owner sees a problem and they're really concerned about pushing more business through that operation. We might come in and do an analysis and say, or do kind of our exploratory work and say, what we need to do is bring in a director of operations to come in above this manager. Maybe the manager is great, they just need some mentoring. But let's bring in a director and we would help them flush out that role, what it looks like on paper, that job description maybe. We don't do job descriptions, but we would build out what that role looks like. We would also help them understand how it fits into the organization chart, how it affects the reporting structure, right? The span of control that exists within that business. But a big part of it is talking to that business owner and saying, we're going to go out and get you a professional, someone who has a lot of horsepower. You might need to manage this person a little differently than you're used to dealing with your current people, right? You might have to build some trust here. You might need to let them do what they do. They might bring some ideas that might be foreign to you because they might know more about this than you. You're going to have to trust them. Their goal is going to be to improve your operation. So that's a lot of what we do right there.
Is this sort of like an independent venture capital where you put money into a small business and they grow, or do they extend their business before it sizzles with their own money, and you navigate the system to show them what would be the best way to have people on their team and who to have on their team to escalate their productivity? Is that what you're saying?
Something like that. We don't do a lot of VC work because generally they have bigger budgets. They have a lot of money in the coffers and they might go to a really specialized recruiting firm. What we're dealing with are privately held first, second gen business owners. So they don't have a ton of capital. but they see the business growing and they have the ability to grow that business, and they're being held back because maybe they don't even know it, but at the end of the day, they're being held back because they don't have the right experience or talent or capacity in the building to create and implement the policies and procedures that are needed to scale. One of the things I often say is, if your only input is time and people, so if the only way you can grow is we just have to hire more people and work longer and work harder, that's not a recipe for success, because that eventually you can't do that, right? You're going to hit the wall. And that is an indication that we don't have the right policies and procedures in place to scale, because the policies and procedures for a $10 million business are going to be very different than they're going to be for a $50 million business. And then the next question you would need to ask yourself is, do I have the people in my business who can create that policy and procedure to help us scale and grow? And if you're banging up against the wall and no one's coming to you and saying, hey, why aren't we doing this? That might be an indication that you're lacking some capacity and experience in your business from your leaders.
Example of how many people grew from 5 million to 10 million using your advanced skills and your productivity and what you're telling them to do. Whatever you're telling them to do, I want to know how many people, or you can just name one, grew from low to high.
So the second client I ever signed back in 2016, I'm still working with them today, 9 years later, and they're at $8 million when I started with them, and they will do $40 million this year.
Wow, excellent. Yeah.
And I have built out probably 80% of their leadership team. And one of the first hires I ever put in that business was a production manager. He is now the VP of operations, and he's been there for 9 years.
What is a typical time slot a millionaire must put in order to have like monetary advancements? Like, is it 40 hours a week? Is it 80 hours? How,
Man,
it depends.
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think it depends on the person. I think you need to be putting in the right actions. And, it's a really good question, because it leads into, I have this theory of business owners are addicted to chaos. Often they're not addicted to how good their product is, but they're addicted to how hard it is to make or provide the product or service they have. And so they value the pain versus the quality of their product. And sometimes when I'm working with a business owner, they want to do all these little things because that's what they did when they started, and we're 5 years down the road and we're at $10 million, and they're so attached to those things they do because they think that's their job, and they don't understand that as the business grows, so do the things they need to focus on, and they need to be the strategic leader of that business and have be forward thinking, and they can't be stuck in the minutia, and they have to hand that stuff over, right? I go back to, there was a client years ago, and they had this business. It was a CNC shop, and they were making stuff. And their kind of battle cry was, if you call us Friday at 6 p.m. and you need something for your facility by Monday, we will do whatever we have to do to get it. So if we find that material in California, we'll airlift it here. We'll have a guy waiting in the shop. We will hot shot it to your work job site, whatever it is, but you'll pay for it, right? And I said to them, well, why? I bet you if you go through all of those calls, there are 6, 8, maybe 10 types of material that people are asking for. Why don't you find suppliers? You have a huge facility here. Why don't you put it in the back of your facility and have it on a pay-by-use basis? So every week you inventory that material and you pay for what you use. That way, when they call, you have the material right there. And he said, I can't do that because how can I charge them as much as I do if I don't have to go through all that pain? And I said, they're not paying you to go through the pain. They're paying because you'll deliver. And if it's in the back of your warehouse or somewhere else in the United States, it doesn't matter. They'll pay you whatever you ask if it's urgent and you can deliver it on time. But they refused to do that. They had an easy workaround where they could eliminate all that pain. But they associated their success with pain and how hard it was to deliver their product versus how quickly they could deliver a quality product. Does that make sense? Am I making any sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
you're making perfect.
So when you ask that question, that's what I think of. And I think there isn't a hump entrepreneurs need to get over or business owners need to get over when they transition from that in the weeds, doing the day-to-day to building that qualified, competent leadership teams where they can push things off and have the trust and confidence that they're going to be delivered on to the standard or above the standard they're hoping for.
Well said. Do you feel that AI has helped with statistics for, to help scale these companies?
I think a lot of these small businesses are dabbling in AI. A lot of my clients are anyway. It's overwhelming. AI is so overwhelming, and you need to take your first bite at the elephant and just do something really simple with it. So you can say, oh, I get that. I can do that. That's easy. It could be automating an AP process, right? Because we have you have to receive your invoice, you have to match it, you have to find the PO, you have to get the check cut, all that stuff. And maybe you could automate all of that to when you just review it and give it to your business owner and say, here are the checks I need cut. This is all lined up, right? That would be an easy process to automate using AI. But I think there's so many big blue sky ideas out there that people are talking about. Business owners are very busy. What are their two big battle cries? I don't have time. I don't have money. And so as soon as you put out this huge, big idea on AI, they just immediately go, I don't have time to do that. That sounds very complicated and I barely have time to run my business. How am I going to do that? So I think, they're getting there. Obviously, everyone's at different stages. I'm not speaking for every small business owner. In my business myself, we're just really starting to embrace AI to do different things. So I'm one of those kind of, I don't know, I'm an early adopter, but I'm kind of riding that wave. And we're always talking about, hey, how can we better utilize this stuff? But I just think it's such an overwhelming topic that a lot of people get afraid when they hear it.
Do you go back to your teams to get information to strategically plan for your clients when we're dealing with them orchestrating better opportunities for new employees?
I usually work with the client. That's the collaboration is with them. So we bring our expertise to them and then say, here's what we see, here's what we recommend, and here's how we can execute on that.
Where do you see yourself going in the future?
That's $1 million question. I would love to expand KeyHire. I would love to have some more consultants out and around within Texas and maybe beyond. We're trying to maybe create an online platform with a members area where business owners could go and get information when they want it that can help them with their hiring and a bit of a resource center for them. That's kind of what I see with it. But I do see KeyHire growing because there's a demand. Small business owners deserve the help. And so many businesses start and their goal is to make money. So they focus on the big companies because they have the money. And very few people are out there saying, hey, we need to help the small business owners because there are Fortune 500s of tomorrow. And no business owner starts a business because they love to hire people. They start it because they have a passion at doing something else. An analogy I use all the time is I've hit tens of thousands of golf balls in my life. And it doesn't mean I'm ready to be a golf pro. It means I've hit 10,000 golf balls wrong. And because you're a business owner and you've had to hire for the last 3, 5, 10 years, doesn't mean you know how to hire. And if you look at your success rate, you might think, man, we just don't get it right. We're only right 50% of the time, or we get 1 in 4 right. You know, the average across all business is 1 in 3. You get it right 33% of the time. And so if we can help you get it right 90% of the time and bring in people that can improve your business, that's what we want to do. But I know a lot of business owners feel like that DIY, I'm responsible for hiring, I'm responsible for bringing this in. That's one of those things sometimes I have a hard time letting go of.
Okay. And if you wanted to tell people out there why KeyHire Solutions is the best and why they should go with you, what would you say?
You know, we're tailor-made to our business owners. We go in and we do our due diligence. We'll spend generally a full day with you at your facility or your office learning about your business. We go into the market representing you, our clients. We're not ABC recruiting firm. We're representing a client. I go into the market as representing my client. And we learn a lot about them because we want to tell their story, where they've been, where they're going, what is coming next for them, what their plans are, what the warts are. Sorry, my little dog just started.
That's fine. That's fine.
And you know, we want it. That's key to getting people to buy into the program and be there long term. We want to be able to tell their story, and then you know our statistics are just really good. We usually hit about 1.8 interviews per offer is our average. 1.6 to 1 interviews per offer for our clients. So we don't make them interview a bunch of people. We do all the diligence. So when they talk to someone, that's the person they're going to hire generally. And then we have a 90% success rate. So people stay, the people we put into businesses stay for a while.
How do you feel about someone who wants to be in your shoes? How did you get out of, you know, making thousands of dollars to making millions of dollars? What makes you stand out, and how would you tell them how to get there?
No such thing as an overnight success. Baby steps. You got to start with one client. You have to deliver. You have to keep improving and evolving your processes and listening to what your clients say. I think I mentioned it right off the top. You know, the model I created in the beginning is not the model we're using today, because the feedback we got from our clients was, that's not what we want. If you could do this, if you could do that. So we kept listening. Here we are 9 years later, and I finally feel like we have the winning formula, and we're starting to, you know, see that growth. We have about an 80% repeat rate on our clients because it's effective, and we deliver on what we say we're going to do. And our goal is to make their business better. We have a pricing model that is fair and equitable for both sides, and enables both of us to just kind of be aligned in what is right for that business. And then we just go out and deliver, right? We deliver on our promises.
Name that night or day, or try to remember that time where you looked and you said, hey, my company is making progress. Hey, I'm making progress. I can see that I'm moving and elevating to a different class.
You know, that's a great question, because I think it happens often if you're growing. And I can cite, like right now, this period in time, we are doing some really cool things that have me very excited about the growth of KeyHire and what's in the future for us. So I'm going to give you a cheaty answer here and say, like, right now is a really exciting time for our company with what we're doing.
What if, you know, like, how would you feel if someone with a very small, like, because you only do it for people with between 5 million and I think 25 million.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like, Do you ever think you will open the doors for people that's making 50,000 a year or 100K, you know, to
We've
scale
worked
their
with
small
smaller
business?
people. And that's a great question. We've worked with smaller people, and they're generally solopreneurs or very small. And we've had some success with some smaller people, but it's just really hard to work with companies that small. There's some budgetary constraints. What they pay us is, it starts representing a bigger percentage of what they're bringing in. And last thing I want to do is cash strap someone. We'll help them out. We have worked with them. If it just depends what's on the horizon for them, but generally they haven't hit that crux where the demands of the business are so much more than the capacity of their people. But yeah, never say never. We do work with smaller people for sure.
If you had to give a piece of advice to a young entrepreneur like me, what would it be?
Listen, keep doing what you're doing, keep plugging away, and listen to what your clients are saying to you and ask them, right? How is it? Would you say, what did you think? Was there anything that wasn't valuable to you? Was there something I could add that would be valuable to you? And keep evolving. In this world, ever-changing world, a process that was the right process 5 years ago might not be the right process today. So you have to keep evolving, keep talking to your clients, build that relationship with them, and keep changing, fixing what's not working and adding things, and just keep playing with your recipe until you get the right recipe.
My belief is that you're a human AI to sit up there and take CEOs and strategically, without the help of AI right now, have employees fit in and work productively. You help find employees that, are strategically wanting to work and will do the job and produce productivity. So I thank you for that. You're helping everyone. So I
Thank you.
wanted
Yeah,
to
thank
know,
you.
you're welcome. I wanted to know, how can the people reach you?
Best way is through the website, KeyHire.solutions. They can email me. There's the little barky guy right back there laying in my chair. They can email me at Corey@KeyHire.solutions. They can find me on LinkedIn, Corey Harlock. Any of those ways, reach out. I'm always happy to hear from a business owner. Always have time for a business owner. So reach out if you have any questions or want to book some time to talk something through. There's links to my calendar on the website.
Okay. Stay on the line. Thank you, everybody, for joining my show. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you guys another time. Bye.
Never waste my time.